What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast, episode 104, Spring Thunder. Dylan, what's going on, dude?
Just enjoying this warm weather we've gotten. It's last week was snow on the ground, and yesterday we were planting food plots. So it's a night and day different.
Yeah, it was a high of 9 last week, and today was like 54 or something, which is great. Hey, I had a bunch of turkeys on trail cam this morning. I had like 5 strutters. I just requested the videos through Moultrie. Hopefully I got some turkeys gobbling even already, which would be pretty wild, but I doubt they're gobbling on there. But they look like they were definitely trying to get that pecking order going.
Yeah, that warm weather starting to get them feeling right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, our guest this week has been on the show 4 or 5 times, and it's highly appreciated on our end. But Paul Campbell, what's going on, dude?
What, man? Thanks for having me back so much, Brett. I appreciate it, Dylan. Good to meet you, man. I'm excited to be here, talk a little turkey hunting with you boys and your listeners, and it's just cool, man. It's cool being on the show so many times. I really appreciate it. And Brett, your show was the first like non-personal podcast that I've ever done. You were the first person that said, "Hey, do you want to come talk about turkeys?" I think it was like a Go Wild thing.
Yeah, I think
if I recall, that was like 5 years ago, man.
Yeah, that's been a while ago. I think another time I had put a feeler out on Twitter, I believe, like, hey,
maybe that's what it was. Yeah,
I had somebody cancel tonight. Does anybody want to step up to the bat? And you're like, dude, I'll come on. Let's talk. I'm like, bring it on. Come on. Let's do it.
But Dylan, it was like, and Dylan, you're just now meeting me. I talk about wild turkeys 365 days a year. When you were looking for that, I was like, it was like middle of October.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not talking about deer hunting. I'll talk about turkeys if you want. But
right. That's awesome.
Not deer hunting.
Well, Paul, if we don't have repeat listeners or nobody knows who you are, man, introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So my name is Paul Campbell. I am just a dude from Central Ohio. I like to hunt turkeys. I like to talk about turkeys. I like to raise money for turkeys. I'm very, very fortunate that I find myself full-time employment with National Wild Turkey Federation. I cover like a 9-state territory. I'm in fundraising. I help out with the Turkey Call All Access podcast. I do a personal podcast, the Turkey Season podcast. It's on the OKS Podcast Network. I have a website that I run, turkeyseason.com. And man, it's just, very, very fortunate, very, very grateful that I get to, talk about wild turkeys all the time and just surround myself with people like you guys, like-minded individuals, man. And just, it's just very, very, very humbled and very fortunate for, what I get to do every day. Couple of kids, man. I got a wonderful wife, 2 cats that piss me off and wake me up every night. Like, man, I'm just a guy, man. I'm in my basement, like literally in my basement. Like there's no walls, see that brick wall back there, Dylan?
Yep.
I bought that on Amazon for $8. That is
no kidding. I would check that out.
That is a piece of fabric.
That's awesome.
So nothing special, man. That's what I'm getting at.
That's awesome. Well, I know you from your podcast. I've seen you on all the NWTF stuff. It seems like you're very well known in the turkey community. So how did you get indulged in it, and kind of when did that take off for you?
For the like the content side of it, or just like turkey hunt side?
I guess.
How far back you want to go, man?
Well, let's go from the start, because that's where everybody kind of relates, and then to be able to turn it into a career, that's something everybody is probably wanting to know and see how you navigated that path.
Yeah. So I started turkey hunting in 2008. It was my first year of turkey hunting. I did not grow up in a hunting family. And I think I've told this on your story, or I told the story on your podcast before, Brett, but so I'll keep it short. I don't want to bore people, but yeah, man, I didn't grow up in a hunting family. Turkey hunting found me by accident. At the time, 2007, 2008, the economy was really bad. Right. So, people were getting laid off, businesses were closing, and I was not immune to that, man. I worked in the golf course industry. I was out of a job. I was out of a job for like 2.5 years, just nonstop. I couldn't find a job because the economy was so bad. I had a young kid, and I'm struggling, man. And then my dad died. My dad died at 54 years old, heart attack on his way to work, right? Man. And so all of those like outside stressors in my life, on top of like losing the person that was kind of like walking me through like becoming an adult, man. That's what dads do, right?
Right.
It was very unexpected. And so my life was like just in total free fall, Dylan. I was an absolute mess, man. And just by a stroke of luck, I met up with, we had kind of just drifted apart for 3 or 4 years. It was my best friend. We met in kindergarten all the way through high school, early 20s. We kind of separate. And then, and his dad had died like 3 months before mine had.
Man.
And so like, it just immediately like re-galvanized that friendship that we had. And he had grown up deer hunting, had turkey hunted one time the fall before. And he invited me to go fishing. I loved it. And then he's like, dude, you want to go turkey hunting? I'm like, what the hell's a turkey, man? I didn't know. I didn't know that was a thing. I sure as hell didn't know that people like hunted these things. And so I borrowed a Winchester 1300, which I still have. I bought like the cheapest Walmart camo, which, dude, look at this. See those right there?
Yeah.
That's them. That's the first pair of turkey pants I ever bought.
Those
things awesome. are like, yeah, man, I found them the other day, just like wrapped up in a box. I'm keeping those. And it's really like the rest was like, the rest is history, right? Like I get into it and I hear that first turkey gobble and something in my life changed, man, for the good. And at that time in my life, turkey hunting gave my life purpose, right? It gave me something to look forward to. It gave me something to practice and, put a lot of energy into that. I didn't even see a turkey that first year. It took me 3 years before I even saw one, and then another 2 years before I even killed one. Right. So there was a lot of, there's a lot of learning to do when you're just trying to figure it out on your own. But, so that, that's how I got into it. And it really did save my life at that time. And it's something I'm very, very indebted just to that animal and to people like you that turkey hunt. And I just want to be a good steward of the bird. I want to be a good steward of turkey hunting and the culture that we all are a part of and appreciate and help protect it and just move it forward. So, fast forward a couple of years, COVID was in full swing. Excuse me. And a friend of mine was like, hey man, do you want to do a podcast about deer hunting? And I was like, I mean, I'm a shitty deer hunter and I've never talked into a microphone, but yeah, why not? That sounds like fun. Once again, nothing going on in life, right? Like I'm just working and just trying to survive like the rest of us were in 2020. So my friend Andrew Muntz and I, we started the Ohio Outdoors podcast, the O2 podcast. And it was just a lot of fun, man. And it was one of those things that, once again, it was like an outlet. It was an outlet. It was something new. And I got to meet people like you, Brett. Like we met through that podcast.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things that like, I wanted to be really good at it, and if you played football, you play the games on Friday night or Saturday, and then you'd watch the film, so when I started podcasting, I would listen to the way that I talk. I would listen to the way that I communicate. I put a lot of effort into, learning to just shut up, man. Like that's the biggest thing. Like ask the questions and get out of the way. People listen to my show to hear other people talk, not me. And so like doing this stuff is like, it's really neat. I like when other people are asking the questions. Right. So yeah, man, it was just, and I don't know. I 5 years into it, Dylan, to answer your question, I found myself, getting to do some really cool things, behind a microphone or in front of a camera. And, once again, just very, very grateful for those opportunities. And, I don't take them, take them for granted, man. I appreciate them. I live in the moment. And I think the biggest thing that has allowed me to get into those opportunities with different people, is to just listen intently. And I have this saying that some of the best like professional advice someone ever gave me was listen to learn, not to respond. And so that's kind of how I approach a podcast, man. I don't, I listen to every single one now, even to this day, and I'll always do it. And I critique myself and I'm like, God, why are we talking so much, man? But I'm not talking that much. That's just kind of where that mentality has come from. Listen to learn, not to respond. So answer your question.
Yeah.
I'm not used to talking so much, man.
No. And that I feel like is true for a lot of people. Hunting saves them in some type of way. I know for myself, I'm very obsessive when I get on something, and I found hunting very early. And I have it. The older you get, the more you're able to do. Yeah. So the more doors get open. So I just stayed so in tune with it and just stayed hunting. I think that it's kept me out of a ton of trouble. Brett, I know
Absolutely.
you're the same.
Mhm.
You've been doing it for a long time, but it really is therapeutic, and people don't understand. And I wish that you could take somebody who's just never been and just I've personally done it. You guys have where they've never been hunting before. You take them and they get a bird to gobble, and then they hear the
Yeah.
spitting and the drum, and then they see the show
Yeah.
that it puts on. And it doesn't matter if you kill the bird at that point because that person's hooked. They want to do
Yeah.
that again.
That's true, man. It really is. It's the life-changing power of the outdoors. And that's one of the things that, and I don't want to get contentious here, but there's a lot of people that are like against the R3 movement. And there probably are some faults with that movement, right? Recruit, retain, reactivate. More hunters, more hunters, more hunters. But the outdoors and hunting has been so impactful on my life. And I know it's not like that for everybody. It's like that for you guys. That's why you're here. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think it's selfish to want to keep that from people or want people to experience the same thing, even if it's just once or twice in their entire life. I think it's very short-sighted. I think it's very selfish. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting topic. It is hunting, fishing, camping, rock climbing, whatever it may be, man. If it's in the outdoors, it is soul cleansing, if you allow it to be. So
I worked the Indiana Deer, Turkey, and Waterfowl Expo this past weekend in Indianapolis, and I would to get them to engage with me at my booth was selling exact broadheads. A lot of the time, my question was, "Do you do some bow hunting?" And I got a lot of, "Oh, I'm just getting into it," sort of thing. And
sure.
I would make it a point to say, "Hey, bud, do you need any type of help getting into this? What kind of questions do you have? Oh, do you have questions about bows?" And some people were like, "I have questions about everything." And I would
Yeah.
seriously, I have a digital business card that I can scan on somebody's phone and it saves all my information. I said, if you ever have any questions, my personal cell is in this. You are more than welcome to reach out to me and ask any question you want.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
I've already had people do that. And that's kind of cool because I want them to have the same experience as the rest of us have when it comes to being in the outdoors.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think, like just being I've been thinking about this a lot recently, just because I'm in that position in my life now that I'm taking more people in the woods, especially turkey hunting. I'm taking more people in the woods now than I was, even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, friends, my kids are getting into it. And just the role of like a mentor and how like, one, how special that is for you as the mentor, but how important that is for the people getting into it. Like, my mentor was the woods, the wild turkey, and failure, right? Like that's all. Like YouTube wasn't a thing. You couldn't YouTube like, how do I kill a turkey? And Dave Owens or Shane Simpson in the hunting public pod. It just didn't happen. Like it wasn't out there,
Right.
in 2008. And so you learn by experience, man. You learn by failure, more importantly. But
Absolutely.
man, I would have killed to have a mentor along the way.
Right.
Looking back, like but then I didn't know any better. I didn't even know that was the thing. So, well, good for you, man. Good for you teaching people.
Well, speaking of like conventions and expos and all that, you just had the NWTF convention a couple weeks ago. Talk about that. I saw you gave an award out to Mike Pentecost. How cool was that? I know that you guys are buddies.
Yeah, Mike's my buddy. I like that guy a lot, man. He's good at the NWTF, and it's funny. I'll put him out on blast a little bit. Friendly shots fired. But so I've had that award since July of last year, since July of 2024. I've been sitting on it because I wanted to do it at convention. And so he would call me every once in a while and just wear me out, man. Like, and when people put a lot of effort, time, money, there's 3 ways to give to an organization you love, right? Time, treasure, talent. Right? Those are the 3 ways that you can give to an organization. He does all 3. And people like to be thanked. They like a little something sitting on the shelf, right? And he wanted that, but he didn't say it, but he wanted it. And he would call and wear my ass out, man. I didn't say a word about it. I just let him bitch for 9 months. And so I told his son and some of the camera guys back in like September, I'm like, yo, dude, I got this award. I'm just going to let him get angry. So whenever he gets angry, just tell him to call me. And I want him to be like all worked up. And so the Friday before, like if you've ever been to the convention Woodhaven's like right there, man. They're like front and center when you're going from the first zone into like the main floor. They're right there. Very, very well put together booth, very high profile traffic. And so they always gather right by that booth, and they have like a team meeting and a prayer. And so I'd worked it out with his son and the camera guys that I was going to do this award and give like a little speech. And so I did it. And then everyone showed up, like the rest of the team showed up. And so Mike was like, "Hey, will you do that again?" And so I had to do it. I had to do it now that the entire, like, you know, like 40 people from Woodhaven were all there. And so I did it again and gave him a little pep talk. And I'm sure you'll see the pep talk later, but it was neat, man. He was just, you know, the second time he's like, he got me. He, son of a bitch, got me. And he actually started to tear up, man, because that's how important it is, you know, like just to be a part of something like that and be recognized for all your effort. And that effort is a scale, right? It could be just like a volunteer that volunteers their time. Then you recognize them, and it's just how important it is. You know, it doesn't matter how big or small you are, man. That thankfulness and that love, man, that means a lot. So that was cool, man. That was awesome. It was a good time.
Absolutely. So what exactly is your role at the convention? What is it that you're doing day to day business wise while you're at the show?
Same thing I do every day, man. Communicate what the NWTF is doing with our members, volunteers, and donors, and raise money. That's it, man. It is what I do. When I was there this year, it was a little more. I had a lot of podcasts that we recorded for the Turkey Call All Access, and then man, it was super cool. I was on the Truth About Conservation panel with Will Primos.
That's awesome.
It was really cool, man. It's a campaign that we've been working on for a year with Will. He's making a really large donation. Like, he donated a bunch of Purdy shotguns, which, if you're not familiar with the Purdy shotgun, like the cheapest one was like $380,000.
Oh,
and so he donated the only in the history of Purdy, the only consecutive serial number, like 5-gun set. So it's like a 410, 28, 16. It was really cool. And so he's donating that, and he's splitting the money amongst the conservation organizations that are, I like, the most important. So it was pretty neat. I got to be a part of that planning process and rollout, and did podcast with him, and did an interview. And I'm not like, I don't like, for as much as I talk day to day, like I don't do a lot of it in front of people. And so I get like a little like twinge of nervousness there. But I got through it, man. It was a lot of fun. It was really neat just to be a part of something like that. So I even like normally I'm doing this, like I'm in my basement with headphones on, talking at a computer screen, super comfortable doing that. But
well, like I've heard you say on your show before that you don't do a whole lot of prep work or have a bunch of notes for your podcast, and it's funny because you know my show for a few years now. My thing was to have the regular guy on, and then we kind of got challenged to, hey, step it up. Let's bring some names in here. So me and Dylan, reached out some people, and we've had some very great guests on here as of late. And when I've researched, I put a lot of time and thought process into the questions that I wanted to ask. And you know what my number one go-to was on the Turkey People? It was your podcast.
No shit.
Those people were on your podcast. It's not that I copied what you said. I took notes and stuff from topics that you hit and stuff like that. And I bet I have listened to your show more in the past month than I ever have, man.
That's where all the downloads are going.
But I mean, it's funny. Pretty cool though, because I know you on a personal level too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's I don't know, man. Like the script and shows, when I first started doing it, like the O2 podcast, we would have like a list of things that we wanted to talk to. And it used to drive Andrew nuts because I'll run a rabbit down a trail, dude. The moment that sucker comes out of the brush, man, I'm just like, just down it, and sometimes I'll forget what we were talking about. And I used to like write down like the main subject, and I'm like, dude, wherever this goes, man. People are interesting. Sure. People are interesting, like to talk about themselves. I always like, the one thing that I will, like I did the Turkey Call podcast I did with Will Primos at the convention. I had an idea of like the story that I wanted to tell. And so it was like segments, right? Like in my mind, I had like 3 stories that I wanted him to tell. And so I kept, how do I navigate the conversation through that? And that was about, I do that a lot, with guys, like cuss stricken, like everybody knows that freaking guy is.
Yeah.
Right. So you can think of like, okay, selfishly, like I want to know like these aspects of your life, since your time with, filming the truth or whatever it is. And so you just kind of like plan it out. And sometimes people have something they want to talk about, man, that I didn't know. And let's go, man.
Yeah.
Get after it.
I use it more to navigate the conversation because I'd be like you, like I'd get to a certain point and it'd be way off of topic, like I still want to maintain a certain goal in a conversation.
Yeah.
Still have it natural at the same time. I mean, I'm not going script for script down this piece of paper, but I still want to use it to keep it a free flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is there's no wrong way to do it, man.
No, for sure.
No,
absolutely.
No wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, go ahead, Dylan. Sorry.
It's cool because like me and Brett were talking about it, and the first one that we really kicked off with is Jason Say, and I'm big on
killer.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm big on the land management stuff, and I told Brett, I was like, dude, selfishly, I'm gonna ask questions I want to know.
Absolutely, yeah,
and that getting the feedback from people, Snapchat me or like responding on Facebook that's what I wanted to hear because we all think the same. Like you see somebody with success and you're like, does he think the same that I am, or is he seeing it in a different way? And, we get so hyper fixated on our way if we're having a little bit of success that me and Brett talked the other night, after talking to Scott Ellis and Shane, like you sit back and you're like, whoa, like this year is going to be way different because I have these different perspectives that I know work. So it's just, it's taking some of the trial by fire out and letting you just have faith in the process almost so you can enjoy it more.
Oh, absolutely. And you're talking about, guys like Scott Ellis and Shane Simpson. I mean, and some of these older guys that have been turkey hunting for 60 years, man. And it's just like how much they know about turkey hunting. I just want to hear them talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can learn so much just from a story that these guys tell. And I'm just stuff that you wouldn't even think about, and it just, you learn something from everybody. And I think that's what makes life. That's what makes just life interesting, not just a podcast, but life, when you learn from people and, I could go turkey hunt with you two guys and be like, oh, that's neat. I like how I did that. And you don't let your ego get in the way to say, that was really cool, man. Good work or whatever it is, that's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk some turkey hunting. I'm ready to talk. I'm about to hear about these birds you're laying down. How did your 2024 season go?
Oh, it was awesome. Oh, dude, it was. I finished my first Grand Slam in 24. 23, I killed an Osceola, first Osceola, and I didn't have the time or money to do, the Osceola, Rio, and Merriam's in 23, but I did. I had the time. I went to Texas, which I'm going back to Texas. That's where I'll hopefully start my season every year for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Kill my Rio there. Actually, the first 2 hours we were on the ground. It was just like that.
That's insane,
dude. It's like a playground down there in the state of Texas, man. And if everything is high fence. Everything, like the entire state has freaking high. It's really like a 4,000 acre ranch with a fence all the way around it. It's like a state WMA, but it's one person's property. No one turkey hunts it. I'm like, we can kill 4 turkeys here in this state. Like, are you serious? And it was just, it's a great time, man. But I did that and then killed my Ohio bird. And then I went to Nebraska. Mm-hmm. With my buddy Mike Larson, Mike Larson, his son Wyatt from Go Wild. He invited me up there. He wanted to see me finish it, and so we get there, and we pull in, Dylan, to the property that we're hunting, and the cabin that we're staying in is there, and it's just like in the middle of this pasture right along the Niobrara River, and then like 60 yards past that is like 2 gobblers in full strut. I'm like, oh, it was like amazing. I was like, yeah, and so we just watched them, and so the next morning we get up and we get a turkey coming in on us, and these people, they just live like in the middle of this ranch. So like their front yard is like just part of their active habitat. Right. And so we just had one turkey that was coming in, man. He was gobbling his face off, wanted to die. And he was just doing his thing, man. He was like, would look for us, and he finally was working his way down full strut, and I can hear him spitting. He pops his head up. drops his feathers and runs. And then I hear like this loud bang. I was like, what the hell, man? I turn around, the landowner had dumped his trash in the dumpster and slammed the dumpster and scared the turkey. And I was like, no, man. So we go up and we get on him or another bird. And I missed. The shot missed. Like,
oh man,
35 yards. Right. I just like, this is like slow motion. I could see like that tight ass TSS and that wad just like go right over his head and not a feather. And so we get back to the cabin because I had to like calm down because in my mind, that's it. Like, I'm never going to get another chance. We're there for 3 days. There's 1,000 turkeys here, but I'm not going to see another one. Like, it's not going to happen. And so I'm in the front yard of that cabin and I'm pissed off. I'm chalking my box call and I'm running it. And, I'm 42, Dylan. I don't hear as well as I used to. And my friend Mike, his son, was like, why? He says, is that turkey gobbler? I'm like, shut up.
Don't piss me off.
Yeah, don't tease me, man. So I hit that box call. Bow, bow, bow. I'm like, oh, here we go. And so I call a little bit, just like screwing around with his turkey. And I'm like, dude, he's coming. Like, he is like running. And so we get up and from the house to the river is probably like 200 yards. And so we get up to the river. And this turkey, he finally comes down. He's across the river, but they fly over the river. There's your first learning lesson of this, right? Rivers don't mean anything, dude. Turkeys fly over those all freaking day. So you're going to be okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. So this turkey, he's in full strut and I can see it. And I hear a truck and it's the damn landowner, Nate, coming down the driveway.
He's got you again
on a 4-wheeler. And I was like, damn it, Nate. And so fortunately he didn't spook the turkey. Mike kind of grabs him and that turkey flies over, man. Finally, like, we're fiddling with him for an hour and, I wasn't missing the second time, dude. I second shot landed, man. And it was just, I put so much like pressure on myself after killing that Rio. It just melted off immediately, man. And it was just an awesome feeling. And, just coming up the river, man. I like one of the guys took a video. I'm just like, just this big, stupid smile, man, holding that dead turkey. And I'm just like, yeah, it was cool, man. I had a good time. And hunted some other states, Michigan, Kentucky, had a really good year. And then I went to New York. Dylan, have you ever hunted New York?
I haven't, but I've heard it's something special.
It's something special. It's a good place to kill a turkey. I shot and missed 3 times. That's how I
Oh my goodness.
3 times, dude. And I killed a lot of turkeys last year. And I don't know if I just wasn't as hateful, like, because it was the last hunt of the year, I don't know, man, but like just 3 of them. And my friends, Kevin and Andrew, they were there for all 3 of them, different, one for 2. Andrew was there for 2 of them. Kevin was there for 1 of them. And every once in a while, like on a Friday night, our group text will get fired up. And they call me Paul Skeens, like the pitcher.
That's awesome.
And so it'll be like, Skeens, we just want to remind you that you missed 3 times. And it's just radio silence. So I've not lived that down. I actually kept all 3 of those shells, man. They're in my, like the center console of my truck. I look at them every day. So
yeah, that's a good motivational tool right there.
Dude, if I had any sort of like self-control, I wouldn't hunt until May 1st in New York, and I would just go in there and just make a mess, make myself feel better and just leave. But because I'd be real hateful by, not turkey hunting until May 1st. So
yeah, that's actually what Scott Ellis had told us, that New York was one of the, his favorite spots. I think he said, that would be, that's on the bucket list, I believe. We do Tennessee here. It's April 12th this year. It's been moved back 2 weeks. They moved it back 2 years ago or last year. It got bumped back a little bit, but
they've been doing a lot with your season dates and bag limits and different zones, and you guys been going through it for sure. So
we have, and I'm not seeing really. I've got more birds than ever, but we're doing a lot of work, and we're shooting raccoons, and we're trying to shoot the coyotes. Like, we're trying to do everything we can to make sure those turkeys. I'm not bush hogging until super late when I see the little ones running with the. I'm trying to be proactive with everything I do to give them, the right habitat, and that's kind of where we've got Michael Chamberlain coming on, and I want to pick his brain on, what is the fine line of making him vulnerable versus comfortable. Because, with predators, I'm sure that's a fine line. But, man, I think that Tennessee has some of the best turkey hunting. But that's,
that's home, man.
Georgia, Kentucky, states like that. I think I just know these birds well, and I can kind of hone in on them. But this year I'm branching way out. I'm going to try to do what you're doing and just kind of hit different states with different buddies and really, I'm not as mad at him as I used to be. Like you said, I'm kind of just wanting to enjoy the hunt. And if we kill one, great. If not, then we're going to walk away with something, another lesson learned.
Yeah, exactly. It's the one thing that my out-of-state turkey hunting started. I think 2015 was my first year that I ever turkey hunted out of state. And once that cat's out of the bag, man, it is tough to put that sucker back in. And Tennessee was the first state. I love Tennessee, but dude, I love chasing turkeys wherever I'm at. It doesn't matter, man. Like my favorite spot to hunt is southeastern Ohio with my friends and family, dude. That's like my favorite spot. But Texas is pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Kentucky's pretty cool. Tennessee's pretty cool. Alabama's pretty cool. Yeah. So I love all of it, and I judge myself as a turkey hunter on big woods, public land, highly pressured turkeys. Like that's how like I Wayne National, Ohio, Hoover National, the Talladega, Shawnee, Talladega, Allegheny National Forest, like those George Washington, wherever it may be, right? That's how like when it's me and like 15 or 20 other people have been hunting and calling to the same turkey, and I can go in on the third week of the season. That's when I'm like, all right, man, that's pretty cool. You've done your part. So like outside of Central Ohio, dude, one of my favorite spots to hunt on the face of the planet is Lamb Between the Legs. Absolutely love it. Without a doubt, one of my favorite places. I don't know if you can see that. Friends of LBL right there. Actually, sorry, Harold. I stole this from Harold Knight on accident.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I'm not giving it back.
That brings that your coffee mug story reminds me of a question that I used to ask a bunch on here. If you had to pick one person, past or present, who would be that one person? Like a hunt that you would never forget, just like that person that you would want that hunt with. Who would it be?
Man, I think, and this is going to be kind of cheesy, but it would be my dad for sure, man. He wasn't a hunter. I think as he got older, he retired early. Like I think he was starting to just branch out into new things. But I think it'd been cool to see how I think it's just something he would have wanted to do with his kids. You know what I mean? Even adult kids. I think it'd be pretty fun. So that'll be the softball. If I had to pick like one person that I would just love to hunt with, man, and it'll never happen, it would be like Fox Hayes.
Yeah.
From Mossy Oak. Like it'd be that guy. Those old men, the guys that, killed their first turkeys back like when World War II was going on. I mean, imagine how gritty of a turkey hunter that dude was in like the 60s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Had been hunting turkeys for 20 years at that point when they were like, that's a turkey hunter, man.
Yeah.
Guys like that, guys like Bentley. Those are the people that I'd love to just be a fly on their shoulder, man, and watch them run through the woods. So
for sure. And you kind of took my guess there. Who I would want would be Harold Knight. That would probably be one of the people that I would pick. I can remember, before really DVDs were even really a big thing. I don't know how many volumes of night and hail turkey hunting. I can't even imagine the size of the camera they were using.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Watching them two boys go at it, and
just massive.
Coming up with the calls that they did back then, which was kind of a big thing back then.
Yeah. Harold Knight was one of the first like 10 people to legally kill a turkey in the state of Kentucky in the modern season, 1966.
Awesome, man.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Yeah.
It is wild.
But and he was like in his 20s, but he killed his first turkey when he was like 8. So because there was no season.
Mm-hmm.
But so like just in conversations with him, I've done some interviews with him. He talked about like we're going to get off on like a little historical tangent here, Dylan.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. But one of the like moonshine, right? Like moonshine production was huge in Lamb Between the Lakes back in, like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, probably even to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
But the guys that were turkey hunters, like the original turkey hunters, dude, like in this country, were moonshiners. And so he told me stories where he would he'd be running his dog looking for turkeys, and those guys would be in the woods making moonshine. And they just, he's like, I'd be running around, and he was like 10-year-old Harold Knight running through the hills of Land Between the Rivers at the time, running into moonshine stills. And he said that he'd see these guys turkey hunting, and they would just run into each other, and they never said anything to him because they just knew that he was just a kid out killing turkeys. But then those are the guys that taught him how to turkey hunt were those old moonshiners, which is really neat, man. When you think of our collective heritage, you talk about Harold Knight's a guy that, you learned to turkey hunt from on some level,
for sure.
just through the videos and through the, TV and the content that they made. And you look at his lineage, learning from those guys, that's pretty cool, man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that about moonshiners. I actually cut my teeth in turkey hunting in the state of Kentucky. It's where I grew up learning to turkey hunt. And we got off onto it was a national forest. And we got on this big ridge, and it went down, and there was a lot of waterfalls and that kind of stuff. And I actually stumbled upon somebody's setup. And I was with my dad, and he goes, "We have to get out of here right now."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, let's go." We're booking it out of there. Don't want to get caught in
wild.
there, man.
That's wild. Yeah. If you, nowadays you stumble onto someone's marijuana crop and those big, maybe not now, it's legal pretty much everywhere, but that's the new moonshine, I guess. Right.
So, well, we actually we're doing some deer hunting in northern Kentucky on some public land, and we were walking through there, and I'm like, "You guys smell that? Come on, you guys know what that smell is, right? It's got to be right here somewhere." It was actually, they had hemp farms very close, and it was just breathtaking. You're like, "Oh my God, where's it at? I can smell it."
You never know what you run into in the woods, man.
Oh,
down there in Texas, we're in central Texas, but there's a lot of illegal immigration, moves through the entire state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were there, the one of the the ranch managers was like, if you see people out walking around, he's like, or you see campfires, don't mess with them. You just let them do whatever they're gonna do. Let them move through. And it's crazy when you think about that. You can smell campfire. You're like, is that the neighboring property? Or is that freaking coyotes, smuggling people through? Am I gonna die out here? It's there are cartels out here. It's just crazy, man. What you can run into in the woods anywhere in this country.
So when you put your hunts together and you travel to all these different states, how are some ways that you're planning on what? Because I know that you got friends all over the place, and I know it's hard for me to set up my spring because I have the ones that are traditions now, right? I have it's like a must. I have to go hunt with my buddies in the certain places, but also in the back of your mind, you also want to add new states, or like yourself that was going for the Grand Slam, add certain states and certain birds. How do you put your spring together?
It's easy to be selfish, isn't it?
No, absolutely.
I think it's okay to be a little selfish during turkey season. Listen, you only get so many of them, man. So you gotta scratch out time for yourself. So your question was how I prepare just to where I want to hunt.
Yeah. Well, how do you put it all together,
man? I think the one thing that's really starting to stress me out is the more I do shows and the more I talk to people, it's really cool. People are like, "Oh, dude, I love to come hunt with you. Why don't you come down and hunt with us in Georgia or New Mexico, wherever it may be?" And so how I put it all together is that I have a wife that runs our checking account like a freaking CPA. That's how I put it all together. So I present to her my turkey season request for funding. And say, what can I do? These are the costs, and my wife puts my turkey season together.
That's awesome.
So that's because I would say yes to all of it, right? Dude, listen, man, I've got my Tahoe, and so when I travel, I have this little rig that I put together. I sleep in it, so I don't have to pay for a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I would survive on freaking Hunt's Brothers pizza and Celsius, right? Energy drinks for a 3-month period, and just shower in a creek every time I had a chance. But Yeah. So, and I mean, honestly, like that's, the what I can afford dictates, most of my hunting. And this year I worked really hard to save a bunch of money. It's like my money. So I can do whatever I want for like, I'm going to whisper that. She's upstairs. She might hear me. She comes out here, kicks the door down. He's lying, that fat bastard. He can't do that. But no, man, I'm this year's a very ambitious year. Just with the nature of my job, there are moments where I do get to, but I don't. Let me say this: the NWTF's not paying me to hunt. All right, so let's just clear that out. Like when I'm hunting for work, I am taking someone else that is more important in that organization, like a donor or volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making sure that they have a good time. Right. That's my role. I mean, I've been on dozens of hunts for work. I've not, most of the time I bring a shotgun because it's not about me at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
And so I do get to do that. This year, I just personally, I do have a very ambitious plan. And, what's tradition, man? I think for me, Texas is now tradition just because, man, it's just so much fun. The guys that I get to go down with, Jeremy Korber from Fit to Hunt, Jim Richmond from Drury Outdoors. I love that guy. I love those guys. Jeremy's son, Jack, and then our camp host, Steve Payne. Just a wonderful dude. And those guys are like family to me, and I think that I'll try to start that'll be like one of those that as long as they want me to come down and join them, I'll do that every year. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you can kill 4 turkeys is like freaking insane to me, right? Like that's also a draw if I'm being honest.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. But the rest of it, I just like hunting new country. I like hunting new ground. I'm doing a Northeast swing this year. So I always I do New York. I've done New York the last 3 years. Love that state. But then I'm gonna do Vermont and Maine and Massachusetts just because I want to see it. Right, like I want to see the ground. I'm not chasing 49 by any means. If it happens when I'm an old man, it happens. If I get to 35 and I'm still kicking and can walk, I'm like, I could probably do this. But so, man, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. The one invite that I'm going to hunt in Georgia this year, a guy from Pistol Creek Game Calls invited me to come down. I'm like, dude, I got a couple days, man. I might be able to do that, and it's cheap to hunt it. So I'm going to sleep in my Tahoe and shoot turkeys, hopefully in Georgia. So, but
yeah, Georgia opens about a week before us. So just stop in for the turkey roundup in the Tahoe on your way back home.
Yeah, there you go, man. That'd be fun. Where is this turkey roundup? Can you talk about it?
Yeah. So last year, me and Brett kind of was just brainstorming and was like, let's put something together where everybody comes down. I drop pins for everybody on, the majority of people are hunting public. Some I partner up with, guys I've got local that are hunting private. And we all just take off and we go hunt. And then
I love that.
That afternoon, we'll start at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. You'll have the guys who killed start rolling in. And man, we had such a good time last year. So this year we're going to do it. It's even bigger with a bigger group of guys. We've got the smoker, we're going to throw some wings on. And everybody just comes to the farm, hangs out. And we're trying to build it to where it's like a big deal. And, this year, if you came, next year your buddies are like, man, let's go. And then we just keep growing that network to where it's building the hunting community instead of people being like, you can't come hunt with us. Like, we're trying to build it up to where if you called me and was like, hey, man, I'm coming through. I know your rut's going on. Let's go chase some deer. That's the kind of network we're building. No matter where you're at, you've got somebody you can call and chase some sort of animal with.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like that. That's a lot of fun.
He's got like a old school WWE belt, and he's all tricking it out with logos and the biggest bird belt. Take a picture with it and stuff. Yeah. Last year was a lot of fun because, like I said, he said, we met up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody came in together. We had 4 or 5 birds on the tailgate. Everybody, and it was like you would talk to somebody and have a conversation, and then you would migrate to the next group, and everybody, and you just had stories for days, and we were having a couple adult beverages at the same time, and it was just a blast for people to come together and talk turkey hunting. It wasn't about anything else. It was about turkey hunting.
Yeah, I love it, man. Good old turkey, nothing better. Nothing better.
Talk about some events that you have this year for the NWTF.
So we've got, just as an organization, we have thousands of events across the country
Right.
every year. So I really kind of work like outside of the event system. I work with the major donors to the organization. But if you are a turkey hunter, if you want to have a good meal, have some fun, like just what you were talking about, be around like-minded individuals and drink a few beers, maybe win a gun or two, right? Win some prizes. Those events, the banquets, the conservation dinners, wild turkey banquets, they have all sorts of names depending on what part of the country you're in. Those are a ton of fun. You get a membership when you're there, you're supporting conservation, you're supporting the organization, you're having fun, you're building a community. So you can just get on the website, NWTF.org, and click on events, and it'll take you to whatever state you want to go to and see local events. But man, there are a bunch of those. So those guys have a ton of fun, man. I do like one event a year, and we'll do like an invite only, just like a dinner, like at someone's house, or, last year we went on a dove hunt. And it's just fun, man. It's just that fellowship in that community. But the banquets, those things get rowdy. They're a good time. People have a good time, and it's just it's a grassroots support. That's the heart and soul of the National Wild Turkey Federation are those dinners. So yeah,
Right.
if you want to do it, man, do it. They are a good time, and they are very, very instrumental in accomplishing the mission of that organization.
What are some things that the NWTF is doing right now? If there's anything that you're able to talk about of some stuff they got going on.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So one of the things that's really neat, man, is like an outside observer of the NWTF, and you see this all the time. You're like, well, what are they doing with our money? I don't, and even just like before I started working here, I didn't really know. I didn't know where the impacts were. I didn't know what, I didn't know like what the organization did outside of like the dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that's really neat, like, across the country, especially the Southeast where you're from, Dylan, is we have and really into Ohio and Indiana, we have experienced population declines, and Michael Chamberlain can talk at length about this stuff, and he will. He's very, very good at that, very knowledgeable. But one of the things that's been really neat, just from like an organizational perspective, is two of the initiatives that we've rolled out, landscape level initiatives. So we're not talking like Eastern Tennessee or Central Ohio. We're talking like huge regions. So Habitat for the Hatch is an 18-state initiative that was rolled out in 2023 with the idea and the mission of positively impacting like millions of acres. I can't remember what the exact number is, but you're doing that through funding research projects, letting the research projects kind of work through and funding a lot of them all over the place. And then learning, doing new novel research, and then taking those findings and implementing them on the ground. So we know there's an issue. Research tells us what the issue is. And Chamberlain talked about this. You have to ask him about poult mortality. Dude, this shocked me when I heard about this. I'm running a rabbit here, Dylan. Stay with me. If a poult hatches and it has to go more than 800 yards from its nest, it is a 100% mortality.
Oh my God.
800 yards. Think about that. 800 yards. That's like half a mile. So like as land managers, we're always talking about like nesting habitat, nest raiders, predators, all, like we focus on the nest. And then you see that and you're like, wow, like that brooding habitat is so like insanely beneficial and like important, so before they can fly, the first 2 weeks, let's go 800 yards from this, 100% mortality. When I hear that, I'm like, you a little panicky, right? So like, are we doing the right things as conservation, as land managers? And that's what this initiative was for, was finding things like that and then changing the way that we manage land and our impacts on land, the state agency. So I think that's really neat. Like one of the things that's really cool in your home state, Dylan, Chuck Swan, WMA. Are you familiar with Chuck Swan and these sites?
Yeah, it's right across the lake from me.
Okay. Very, very pretty part of the country. One of our really good donors there in 2022, their 19-year-old son was out scouting turkeys in Chuck Swan, wrecked his car, and died in that accident in Chuck Swan. So they started a foundation. They've raised a bunch of money, in his honor, and then they give money to the things that he cared about. NWTF is obviously one of those things. So they've given us a substantial amount of money the last 3 years, and we have used that money to buy equipment and fund habitat projects within Chuck Swan. So like mulching discs, a sprayer, fire equipment. And so there's like a power line or a gas line that runs through that area.
Mm-hmm.
So they're maintaining something like 9 miles of brood habitat now.
Wow.
With that. Think about that. That's awesome. That's freaking cool, man.
That's insane.
That's like dollars in the dirt. 9 miles, like this clearing. They went through, they killed all the invasives, they reestablished native grasses, and that was just all of that equipment. And the work was bought with money that was donated by that individual. And that's just like one like sliver. I mean, you can get online, you can see all the projects that are going on, but I mean, those are some of the really neat ones. Trying to figure out the issues and what can we control as hunters, as agency professionals, as conservationists. What can we do better?
Yeah, that is really cool. I didn't know that about Chuck Swan. It's literally 20 minutes from my house by boat. I could be there. Literally, it's straight across.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, we're super close. My buddy actually got drawn for it this year.
Okay.
The first weekend in April, so he's super excited. I've helped some of those game wardens when I was in high school do controlled burns, and my ag teacher his name was Mr. Fugit. Man, he was a big role in getting me into it as well, and I still text him to this day.
Yeah, really, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I pick his brain, and that's kind of Chuck Swan. That's really neat because Chuck Swan, he used to take us to field trips up there, and we would help him do the burns, but that's awesome because without you telling me that, I probably wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, so you wouldn't know. And that's one thing, like organizationally, that I think that we need to do better. And it's up to guys like me to do this, is to communicate the good work that is being done, by this organization on behalf of the members and the volunteers and the donors and the corporate partners that are doing these things, because there's a lot of really neat work that's going on. And I tell people a lot, they'll be like, well, I donate this money or my time or whatever it is. And they're just like, well, you haven't done anything. And people, they only see what's in front of them, right? Like Chuck Swan is like 20 minutes by boat. You had no idea what's going on. So if it's not like literally in your backyard, like we just don't see, that's human nature. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that we need to do a better job of communicating the accomplishments and the things that get done. There are a lot of really neat projects and that we help fund. That's how the mechanism moves, right? The conservation mechanism, and you're probably familiar with it. Like we don't do, as an organization, like we don't do any research, right? That's a state level agency issue. And then the researchers like Chamberlain assist and monitor the data and do all of that stuff. But we just help fund it. We help literally buy the boxes for people to stuff turkeys into, to put transponders on them. So it's just neat how it moves, how it happens.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not sexy. So.
Like all the poop in the box, like I've heard you talk about before.
Dude, it's crazy, man. Like you don't realize how gross a live wild turkey is. Like they're a nasty animal.
Well, buddy, I won't take up any more of your time. I really, really appreciate you coming on and talking some turkey hunting with us, man. It's been a blast to have you on. So
thank you, man. I hope it was good.
Oh, absolutely. Tell everybody where they can find you and on socials and your podcast and all that good stuff.
Thank you for doing that, man. So you can find me on the internet. On Instagram, it's Paul Campbell 322. I think on Facebook you just search, right? I'm not real big on Facebook. I think you just type in Paul Campbell.
It'll pop up.
Yeah. And then the Turkey Season podcast is my personal podcast that I do. That's a ton of fun. It's tied to a brand, a website, turkeyseason.com, which is evolving every day. It's a really neat to do that. And then if you want to hear kind of NWTF specific content, the Turkey Season All Access podcast, I'm on there pretty regularly. So that's it, man.
That's awesome. Dylan, you got anything before we wrap it up?
No, not at all, man. I'm just counting down the days.
Me too, bro.
I am so insanely jealous of people getting to hunt turkeys just like in Sunday, I think March 2nd it opens, or March 4th. Yeah, and on South Zone in Florida, like chest pains, dude. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I hate all of you, because I'm not turkey hunting this week, but
same.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, we'll be back here again next episode for 105. Would be our friend Caleb friend here from Indiana, travels all over the place, so we're excited to get him on. But if you're in podcast land, give us a rate and review. If you lasted this long on the YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment. But thank you guys for your support, and we'll see you again next week.